First of all, we want to welcome everyone to the first Plain State Tech Session. These tech sessions have been set up in conjunction, obviously, with the leadership of the Austin Healey Club of America. And our purpose is to have a value added source for our members as needed. And these have been very successful. This is the third of four that are being set up, and we're glad to have everybody on board. We want to, of course, thank Peter for all of his efforts with the technological background that he has in getting everything up and running, and welcome everybody on board. The purpose of the tech session, as I said, is to give people an opportunity to express their concerns and have a question and answer open forum. The purpose initially, or the initial setup, included sending questions in, which will be addressed first, as I understand, and then other questions as we have time for. We want to remind everybody that no question is a bad one. If you don't know how much air should be in the tires, it's a good question to ask. I was just speaking to Judd Perkins today, another person that's been instrumental in our organizational structure. He said he had new tires put on his car yesterday and they put too much air in them. And so that's good. So I'm a member of the Flatwater Austin Healey Club and also the Austin Healey Club of Kansas City. And the organizational structure of this tech session that we've set up for the Plain States is to basically cover most of the Midwestern state. Our team, and I'll briefly introduce them, our administrator, and all three of these guys have extensive technical knowledge. In fact, when I added up the years that they said they'd been doing this stuff, it's about 130 years of experience between these three guys. Our administrator is Matt Kraniak, and he's from Illinois. Matt, in addition to being, I might add, in addition to being leading Kraniak. Go ahead, Matt.
Yes, hello.
Tell me again.
Kraniak, but
Kraniak,
is
okay.
close enough.
It's close enough. It starts with a K. That's all that's important. Matt K. And his counterpart there helping him out. Matt, in addition to the expertise we'll talk just a brief bit about, is also the chairman of our 2026 conclave, which will be held next year in Galena, Illinois. And hopefully everybody has already checked that out and has plans to go or can sign up online.
Here we go.
Matt is truly a enthusiast and is considered one of the go-to guys, the go-to guy in his club for mechanical assistance. He's done extensive work on cars. He works and maintains not only his own cars, but in addition to holding a full-time job, he has a business of also working on pretty much British cars. He currently claims to have 3 Healeys. That means he should have one running at any given time, as we all know, and we hope that he does. So we want to thank Matt for his time. Secondly, our senior member of our expert committee is Steve Rickson. Steve hails from Minnesota, and he has extensive background in primarily British car servicing and history. Steve has done at least a half a dozen, he wasn't sure how many, full ground up restorations of various British cars, and he's currently working on a 60 BT7. He's had 31 years of shop experience, while a lot of it was while he was working aggressively for Northwest Airlines. Our third member is Steve Myers. Steve is from Iowa, Ames, Iowa. Steve is kind of a unique young man, and he would claim to tell you that he has about 200 cars currently. And Steve has a real good desire of documentation, restoration, and maintenance of a real world podcast on cars of all makes and models, but a big emphasis on British cars. I asked Steve this week, what's your latest? Have you bought anything lately? And he said, Brad, I buy something every week. So Steve's doing, and he has a great appreciation for the British car market. And just as a footnote, for those of you that were at Conclave, he is the restorer of the Sebring, which was there. So that's a brief overview of the three guys, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt at this time. My part of the organizational structure, this was just to help get it going. Glad to have been able to do my part and go from there. So Matt, it's up to you to take over at this point, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay, well, I'll kind of jump right in then. So we've had a few questions that were emailed out, and I guess maybe what we'll do is we'll just kind of tackle those, and then if it's still early, we can always just chat more about anything tech and kind of go from there. So if anybody has any questions, I'd at least like this to be interactive. So if you need clarification on something, just feel free to ask us. And so I guess the first question that got emailed in here, and I apologize if you hear border collies barking in the background. That's a thing here. But we had a question on replacing the windshield on a BJ8. I guess the frame is off the car, the glass is broken, and so we need help kind of doing that. Now, to Steve, I have not done a BJ8 windshield, so I'm going to kind of rely on you guys. Hopefully Steve, I'm sure you've done a bunch of them. But what do we have on replacing the windshield on a BJ8 besides crying and drinking lots of scotch?
I've done a few, and the disassembly of the windshield is somewhat problematic, especially if it's the first time it's ever been done, because the fasteners are rusty, the corner brackets are rusty, and getting it apart is a problem. By getting it off the car, you've gotten about a third of the way through the process. Have you been trying? I don't know. Have you tried to take the side posts off the frame, the windshield frame? Is our question asker here?
Who asked the question, Matt?
Yeah, hang on. I've got his name here. That is from Joe Thomas.
I don't see Joe Thomas on the Zoom call right now. Matt, and maybe. So, Matt, can you see everyone who's on the call right now?
I can, yeah, but might have to go to the second page to check everybody else. But yes.
I'm showing you have 26 on the call. I just went to page 2. It may be better to start with a question of a person who's on the call. That quite often helpful.
Yeah.
I do not see Joe on the call right now.
That's probably a good plan. All right. Well, we can circle back to that in case maybe he jumps on later. So next question up then. Let's see who's here. Got a question from Jim. I don't see Jim Stuffinger.
Staffinger.
Oh, there you are. Yes, you are here. Hi, Jim.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm okay. So you had a question. You needed help with whether to convert to .5, so silicone brake fluid. What's involved? And you wanted to chat about pros and cons, and what do you need to do before the conversion. If I remember right from your email, you were saying that you've already rebuilt a number of the components. Did you refill the system since then?
No. Right now I've got all the cylinders. The brake cylinders have not been taken out of the calipers, and the wheels. Those are still there. The car's been sitting for over 50 years. I bought it when it was 7 years old. pull the engine on it. It's been in my garage for 55 years. So that's everything's got to be gone through. I did pull the master cylinder, slave cylinder, and clutch master out of it, and the bores are really good on them. I have kits for them I was going to put in. I'd like to convert it to the silicone. I've heard a lot of pros and cons on it. Pros that you've got a fluid there that doesn't produce a caustic material that would take the paint off your car or your reservoir, But other than that, I really don't know that much about it, and that's kind of what I'm after, the pros and cons, whether I should do it, how do I get the stuff out of the brake lines that I'm going to keep on the car. Some of them I've already taken off. Others I'm afraid to take off because I don't want to break the fittings, that type of thing. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay.
I
Um,
I have pretty strong feelings about this one. If you'll let me take this question.
oh boy, I hope we agree.
Yeah. I've
don't
heard
have to
it both
agree.
ways.
All right. So, in my opinion, you should not change to .5 unless your reason for doing it is that you absolutely do not want a fluid in there that's going to melt paint and take paint off, because the benefits of it do not outweigh the other downfalls of .5. Obviously, you've heard things like .5 isn't hydroscopic, so that means that it's not going to absorb the water into the brake fluid, and you've obviously it's not going to eat paint. But there's a lot of downsides to .5. The first is, if you were adding .5 to a system that has ever had .3 or .4 in it, you must take every single thing apart and clean it really well. You could take a little dish of .4 or .3. If you just put a little bit of .5 in that, you're going to see that fluid go crazy, and you're going to know immediately what happens if you were to mix those two fluids.
So they're not compatible at all.
Not compatible at all. It'll start curdling right in the little dish there. It's something you do not want to mix at all. And one thing that gets overlooked, I think, when people are saying that .5 is not hydroscopic, that just means that the water isn't going to get mixed into the brake fluid, and the water is still going to get into the system because of changes in temperatures. It's just not going to be mixed into the brake fluid. So what happens is you get a layer of water somewhere in your system, and that layer of water is not going to mix with the .5, and it's going to rust the heck out of whatever part of your system that water is stuck in. Can you guys hear me? My green
Yep.
keeps going
Yep,
on and off.
yes,
You're
We
good.
can hear you fine, Steve.
yes.
So you're going to still have water in the system, and the water is going to be all in one place. Other downsides to .5 is that it gets little air bubbles into it very easy. And .5 is also slightly compressible, so you're never going to have as good of a pedal as you did with .3 and .4. So and that's why you would never want to use .5 in racing applications. .5 can withstand higher temperatures, but there are purpose-made racing brake fluids. But you tend not to use .5 in race cars, especially ones that have ABS systems. It's just not going to work right because it is compressible. So in my opinion, if you have a nicely restored car, that your number one goal is that you don't want the brake fluid or your clutch fluid to eat the paint, go .5, but otherwise don't do it. You really should be flushing your brake fluid within the amount of time that the benefits of storing the car with the .5 would have given you anyways. So
Yeah.
that's my opinion.
Okay, mine's a rolling restoration, and I know after sitting all those years, I'm going to have to go through all of the brake cylinders. So I'm just concerned if I do that, then I just have a few brake lines the long one that runs from the front to the back. I know I'm probably going to keep that one there. If I just blow that out with brake clean or whatever, if that would be enough, or am I going to have this little bit that you're talking about left in there to cause me problems?
For a metal line, if you remove all of the fittings, yes, blowing that out with brake cleaner is going to be good. But you have to take it completely apart. To Steve's point, the fluids do not mix. So if
Okay.
you have like brake calipers that haven't been rebuilt, or if you're not replacing the calipers, you can get localized pockets of the fluid. And if you take the two fluids and put them in a beaker, you could shake it up and you won't see a difference. But a few minutes later, it's going to separate right out again, and you will have
Okay.
two different fluids. I also agree on the water idea. You shouldn't do .5 just for the idea that you don't have to change the fluid anymore. It's not less maintenance, it's just different. You do still need to flush it regardless of what fluid you're using, probably about every 2 to 3 years, because you're either going to have water that's sitting in pockets
When
or it's
when
going
you
to be
say
absorbed.
when you say flush it, can I just bleed like the rear one off and just
Uh,
refill maybe a pint of it and be
No,
good to go? Or
you should do well. Start with the farthest from the master cylinder is
Mhm.
kind of a rule of thumb. So master
The left
cylinder in a
rear,
big
right
Healy is going
rear,
to
or
be,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah, front left. So you start with back right, you go to back left, then front right, front left. But you do it until you see the clean fluid come out. You almost want to get the fluid in the reservoir really low and then start doing this. And then when it's clean coming out and you'll see a difference, that's when you say, okay, that wheel's done, go to the next wheel, make sure there's no air bubbles. But that should be done really about every 2 to 3 years. Because what happens even with .3 or .4 is they do absorb moisture and it will lower the boiling point of that brake fluid. So if you're stopping, you're generating a lot of heat at the wheels. If you have a brake dragging, it makes it worse. If you're driving in a sporty fashion, it makes it worse. And you'll boil the brake fluid and you'll have fade in the pedal.
Well, I'm almost 80 years old, so I'm not going to be racing it or getting hard
Oh,
on
come on, you're
brakes or
just getting
anything.
started.
But yeah, yeah. But I've worked on cars over the years, and I've had a couple sprites in the 70s and whatnot. But um, is there is there an let's see, is there an advantage of the silicone other than the paint? What I'm trying to do is I've got a new reservoir, and I'd like to keep it looking nice. And every reservoir I see with DO3 or 4 in it looks like crap.
There,
Is there a
there
way of
is an advantage to the
protecting stuff?
economy
Yeah.
because you'll spend more. So I'll temper Steve's view. I have in my Healy, I have just regular brake fluid. In the Spitfire and the GT6, where the brake master cylinder is right on that shelf right at the front, you see it. If that thing leaks, it's leaking right where everybody's going to see it in the engine bay, and both of
Yeah.
them have silicone fluid in it. The air bubbles, it has an affinity for air bubbles. And so, but most of that is a bleeding issue. If you pour it slowly, if you let the bottle sit so that it doesn't have bubbles sitting in there, let it sit for a couple hours so that they separate out. Pour it slowly. I've seen people bleed brakes. They sort of stomp on the pedal a few times to pump it up. Don't do that. That will not work with silicone fluid. So if you take your time bleeding it, yes, it is technically more compressible, but if you bleed it correctly, it's not super noticeable unless again, if it's a racing application, that's different. I really, you also cannot change to it unless you're doing a full overhaul. You're
Okay.
going to be missing some of the fluid.
Yeah. And
So you have
I
to go
may find that my cylinders or one or two of those cylinders are good, and I wouldn't have to, my brake cylinders have to do anything with them. But I'm just thinking, sitting that long, the seals are probably gone. The piston, seals and all are probably need to be
Yeah.
replaced.
In a big Healy, I stick with just the .3, honestly,
Okay.
and .3 and .4.
Is 3 or 4? Is there a difference between the two?
Or
Yes.
They call it a synthetic, but it's not really a synthetic, is it? I mean, they call this stuff synthetic, which makes me think, well, it must be like silicone. But it's not.
Synthetic, but it's still the same base. So silicone is entirely different chemically, but it's sort of like you can have a synthetic oil, but it's still made of petroleum. It's just the process that they put it together. It's synthetic.
I
Is
think
one
Steve
better
Ritson's got a
than
point. Steve, you something you want to say?
Okay. I know you're trying to figure out how to do this without doing too much, Jim.
Well, I
However,
don't know how far I'm going to have to go with it.
the only car I've been successful with was a full off rotisserie restoration where I replaced all of the brake components, put in new Cooper nickel brake lines, all new hoses, and then I put in the .5, the silicone, and that one was successful. The problem with it is that it's thinner. If you leave your car out in a cold garage, the seals, you might get leakage past the seals and then still have the big mess in your brake drum area that you would have with any other leaky cylinder. So if you're going to do it, you have to do it all the way. You have to go in with new components,
New
or
lines as well.
you have to disassemble, completely clean, and put it all together with utilizing the silicone as your lubrication as you assemble your brake components.
Is one
Cylinders.
better than the other as far as lubricating the seals in the cylinders? Is one better than the other? The
No,
DO3
not
versus
necessarily.
You need to be consistent, though. You can't
Yeah.
lubricate the silicone fluid with .3 when you assemble.
No. I'm just wondering if that's an advantage of having the DO3 in it. Is it a better lubricant than the silicone?
Back in the day, like when I was young,
So like me, that was a few years ago.
they used DOT4 because DOT3 would attack the gum rubber that Austin built their seals out of on their brake components. And so that the gum rubber would break down with DOT3 and not DOT4. So that's the reason why when you look in the manual, it says DOT4.
Okay.
Now, currently, all of your new components that you're buying are compatible with DOT3. So you can use either DOT3 or DOT4 for your assembly. However, and they're more or less 3 and 4 are compatible. DOT5, the silicone, not compatible with anything else.
Okay.
So that's the way you have to do it. If you want to do it, you have to do it. Now, I'm going to give you a part number for your master cylinder. And that the part number here is 582505. That is the MOS number, and that is a new and improved gasket for the master cylinder to keep that assists you in keeping the fluid inside the master cylinder or the reservoir for the master cylinder rather than having it pump out all the time as you're applying brakes and so on. So
this is a seal that goes in the master cylinder?
It's underneath the cap on the master cylinder. It's a new gasket for the master cylinder cap.
Is that in their latest catalog? The 20?
I tried to find it. I found it in another website.
Okay.
582505. And that's a MOS number.
Okay. Got
and
it.
that's what I have in my cars for my master cylinder cap.
Okay, I think you guys have convinced me to stay with the DO34. You know, that
Yeah,
it just, and I just have to be careful so I don't spill it around because I have painted the inside of my engine bay, just finished
right.
it. I want to keep it looking nice, you know. Um,
Now, the other thing is when you are filling your master cylinder or whenever you're doing anything on the car and you have brake fluid that's getting free, like
Is
on
it
the
any
back plate
good?
of the brake or something
They're
like
talking
that,
about brake
you
fluid.
immediately spray it down. I have a spray bottle that I have rubbing alcohol in, and rubbing alcohol is the only thing that you can really use to cut
okay, but
to.
that but that would that take the paint off as well? Or don't you have a
No,
problem with that?
no,
Okay.
it won't take the paint off. However, if you have a lacquer paint job and you use alcohol on that, I would follow up after the alcohol, which cuts the brake fluid.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would go in with soapy water or just water, and then rinse again because the alcohol and lacquer don't play well together, and you'll get a hazy paint. It'll haze
Okay.
the paint for
Sure.
you.
Yep. Yep. Kind of takes the
Okay.
shine off the high
Right,
gloss paint. I've
right,
got pulled up there that seal filler cap. Is that what
right.
you're
I'm
talking about?
sharing it on Zoom right now.
Yeah.
582-505.
That's the cap though that goes, that doesn't go on the master cylinder. That's underneath.
Yes, it does.
Oh, it
That
does?
it
Huh.
does. And the thing is you can't fill the master cylinder all the way up, or it'll it'll pop through anyway.
No,
So
you're talking
you
about
need
the
to leave the
reservoir. On
yeah
the
the
end of the
reservoir,
master
the
cylinder.
reservoir.
Yeah,
Your
okay.
hundred,
That's what I wondered. It's not on the cylinder,
right?
it's on the reservoir. Correct.
You're right. The reservoir, whatever reservoir you've got.
Yeah, because the BJ8 it just has a reservoir that's common to both the clutch and the brake.
Right. Correct.
Okay, so that goes underneath the cap then, the filler cap on the reservoir.
On the
Is it
reservoir. Yes.
vented?
Pardon me?
Is it vented?
Yes,
Okay.
but not very much because it wants to keep the fluid in the reservoir.
Okay.
So
Great.
don't fully fill your reservoir up and then put this on and expect it to
Yeah.
keep everything under control.
Bring
Okay?
it up. Just bring it up to the top of the inside cylinder there, inside the reservoir.
Yeah,
Right?
where it says full.
Yeah. Okay. Appreciate it, guys. I appreciate the time on this. You've got me convinced. I'll stick with the 3 and 4 and make sure I got things clean then when and if I spill when I spill the brake fluid.
Right. Clean it up immediately.
Yeah.
Real quick on
Good.
3 and 4, and then we'll move to the next question.
Yeah.
The difference there is the boiling point temperature, basically. So you could run the brakes hotter with 4. It's a more performance fluid, but the trade-off is it will absorb moisture faster than .3. So
So maybe
for-
3. I'm not going to be racing. I know it's a.
for-
I do have forged aluminum pistons in it, and it's supposed to run great and everything, but I'm not going to be pushing it.
for a street car, .3 is fine.
Okay.
Just you should still flush it every few years by doing a thorough bleed.
Thoroughly.
I've got 2 more points for this. If you're driving your car and this is a street car, if you needed to top off some of your fluid and you didn't have your fluid that you were using with you, you may not be able to find .5 to top it off. And obviously, you can't mix the two. So having .3 or 4, which can be mixed if you had to, is nice on a street car because if you need something, you can just stop at any gas station. You'll be able to find your fluids that you need.
Yeah.
And secondly, it sounds like you're doing a big restoration and you're trying to keep the car so that you don't have to do all this restoration again. And remember that
I'm not going to do it again at my age.
a lot of the degradation of the car has happened because the car either wasn't driven enough or the maintenance wasn't done often enough. And if you do those 2 things, this stuff will last forever.
Great. Appreciate it.
The more you drive them, the longer they last.
You got to keep using it,
Okay,
Right.
or you lose
let's
it.
move on then. We've got
Thank you.
our next question. I don't think either of the other two are here, so I'll ask the questions, but if somebody else on this call has something you want to talk about, we could chat about that instead. But one of them, Ron, has a 5600M. His overdrive stops working when warm. So I mean, I could probably touch on some common causes for that. And
Yeah.
then Bernie Evans. I didn't see Bernie. You're not here, are you? Yeah, I didn't see Bernie. His door handle on looks like a 63,000. The door handle isn't snapping back when it's fully released. He's got a metal pin that he found fell out, and he's wondering if anybody's had luck fabricating a replacement to repair the handle. They sell new handles, so I would just buy one. But if otherwise you can, hey, Daddy's talking. Otherwise you can measure it and then try and find something maybe on McMaster would be my thought there. For the overdrive, go ahead.
On those pins, I think it's supposed to have a roll pin in it, which is expandable anyways. I think it's a 5/16 roll pin that will fit right up in that and solve his issue.
Yeah. So if Bernie, if you see the recording on this one, that's what you do. And if it doesn't fit, blame Steve. So
Yeah.
Myers.
yeah, either one, as long as it's not me. For the overdrive, I mean, I would check the fluid level first. If it was working in the past, I'd check the fluid level. If it was flushed recently or if it was changed recently, it could be the wrong fluid. Then we could potentially get in an argument about what fluids to put in, but I think the generally accepted Healy consensus is 30 weight. So
Non-detergent, right, Matt?
I disagree with the non-detergent.
Really?
And I'll tell you why. So I had an interview on my channel with Lake Speed Jr. About lubricants, and it kind of spilled over into transmissions. And the logic is if it's non-detergent, all the stuff will sort of fall to the bottom and get collected in the filter. They won't wash the oils off things. The problem is if you have a non-detergent oil, generally speaking, it's also missing the other additives. It's a very stripped down oil. So it could be missing things like anti-foaming agents, which does make a difference. So if you find a non-detergent oil that has all the other additives, great. I personally don't know how to check for that. And a regular 30 weight will work fine. Or you could go the route that I go and use a fluid specific for a manual transmission. Redline makes one, MT90, a little thinner in an Austin Healy gearbox. I think the equivalent would be like MT85. It works wonderfully. It does not foam. It's expensive. It's about $25 a quart, but it doesn't foam. It works perfectly well with an overdrive. In fact, Triumph uses the same A-type overdrive in a number of the cars that they've made, TR4s, 6s. The Stag uses a similar one that's a J-type, but identical overdrive to what's in a Healy, and they recommended 90 weight gear oil. So the fluid recommendations may be a bit dated. And again, I might get in trouble. I don't know if the Steves agree with me on it, but Redline MT85 is what I use.
Back in my day, the detergent oils were just coming out, and there was a foaming problem in those detergent oils in the 50s and early 60s. And that's the problem, the reason that they were specifying non-detergent, because detergent oils would foam back then. Nowadays, not so much. You run 30. I recommended whatever I was running in the engine, so I was running 20 W50, but didn't make much, never mind. So as far as my transmission went. The
Steve, do you use when you use 2050? Are you using one with ZDDP in it, like Valvoline VR120 racing oil?
That's exactly what I used, but I've I went to the dark side and I've been running the Celica Supra transmissions for probably the last 15 years. So
So
uh,
I've got a pretty big opinion on this one as well. I put a link into the chat here, and that's a YouTube video from the guy. He's got a YouTube channel called The Motor Oil Geek, and he
That's Lake
works with
Speed. Yeah.
and he works with laboratories and looks at the composition of oils. And what they actually found was that the most of the wear that we're seeing on our old cars, it was not due to the lack of ZDP. It was due to the amount of phosphorus that was being added to the oils. And it wasn't until recently that they discovered that. And now all modern oils, they've really cranked that back. And you're not having the wear problems with oils today that you did in the past. And the video that I've included there, he takes vintage oils that are 40 years old, still in the bottle, oils from 10, 20 years ago, oils from today. He analyzes them all, finds out the composition. It's a really, really great video to watch. And you really don't have to watch out for the oils that we have today. And don't worry about ZDP anymore, because it was actually other additives that were causing all the problems, not the zinc.
okay.
So
Interesting.
when Lake Speed, he is the motor oil geek. That's Lake Speed Jr. When he was out here and I'd interviewed him, he suggested that there are some excellent oils for classic cars on a budget. VR1 is one of the best you can get. There are, of course, some synthetic fluids that are a lot better. I would think you do still need the additives meant for flat tappet cams, although some of that depends on the actual pressures. And if you're not running like a blown V8, your pressures on there could be considerably lower, maybe within the safe range. But yeah, there's a few good videos, and I would agree he is the one to watch on that. But yeah, if you don't know what to put in your Healy, VR1 is an excellent choice. 2050 VR1, it's a very good oil to use. And there are some other ones that are better but more expensive. Just
Matt?
depends on what you're using. Yeah.
Matt, this is Brad Swigert.
Yeah.
If you want to go with the real McCoy, you buy Penn grade oil, and it's the real old McCoy that we had forever. So that's the one to use.
So Brad Penn oil is green because they put dye in it.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yep. And it's not necessarily better than some of the other choices nowadays.
I didn't say it was better. I said it's
but
the real McCoy. It's the real McCoy.
Yeah. It is.
Now,
it is
Matt,
good oil.
you made a comment regarding synthetic. You're putting conventional VR1, not synthetic. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I'm not sure the synthetic VR1, isn't that the full race version anyway?
That's what I run.
Yeah. So as far as synthetic back in Steve's day, synthetic was when it first started, it could cause seals to leak. They had some issues with synthetic oil. There's a lot of information that was probably true 50 or 60 years ago that just isn't today. Synthetic oil is fine. You're not going to have a problem with it. The main thing, though, for our Healy is the grade of oil. You want the viscosity to be correct, and you want things like anti-foaming agents, and you want the cams to be able to run correctly. So again, VR1's a safe choice. Brad Penn is a safe choice. Lucas Oil makes one. There's a whole host of them that are good, and they're not expensive. And any of those are fine.
And I would say that one of the number one things to keep in mind here also is maintenance. Change your oil on a regular basis. Just like when we were talking about the brake fluid, water vapor is going to get into your engine. As you see the temperature changes, you're going to get water in your engine oil. So even though you haven't been driving the car, if the car has been sitting for a couple of years, you do need to change your oil. even if you haven't driven it since you put that oil into the car. There's going to be contaminants in it, and especially water. So that's going to be the biggest thing that kills the engine, is not having the maintenance done properly.
Right. One thing that the Motor Oil Geek Lakespeed Jr. was saying also was about additives. The problem with additives is that you are adding a concoction to an oil that is already sort of chemically balanced, that they try to do. I'll quote him and say that when you add an additive to your engine oil, it's like playing Russian roulette with your engine. For every 3 or 4 stories where it worked great, there's 3 or 4 more where somebody spun a main bearing. And so I don't recommend the additives. I know they sell them. It certainly contains zinc, but I mean, you may be going too high, which is also bad for your engine. Oil companies change formulations from time to time, and they don't necessarily tell you about it and put it in a new bottle. So I recommend against additives. If you're going to get a classic car oil, just get one. VR1 is not expensive. So you can do that without getting the things and pouring it into your oil.
Wow.
Unless Steve sells additives, and then
No.
buy them.
And change your oil in the fall. Don't
Right.
wait till spring.
Am I on mute or am I not on mute? Can I be heard?
Yep.
Say it again.
We could hear you just fine. Not now, though. You're on mute now.
Yeah, he's on mute now. Dempsey, take it off of mute.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Surprisingly enough, I used to work for Valvoline, and a long part of my career, and I was in the not anywhere near the technical area. But the one thing that I can say about the technical people at Valvoline is they not only spent a lot of time in the lab, but they spent a lot of time on the racetracks, both with NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One all the time. And when it comes to the technical ability of VR1 Valvoline motor oil, man, these guys really got their act together. So, and I'm not putting an advertisement in for Valvoline. But I know those people very, 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 very well. So, and all I put in my Healy is Valvoline VR1. So,
I will point out also on that, if you go to the shop valvoline.com or whatever it is, you can buy 4 of the 5-liter jugs. And if you do that, you get a discount on it because you're buying it in bulk. It ends up being about $5.50 a quart, which is really hard to match even with your AutoZone special. So you can get good oil very inexpensively. So there's your price tip of the week. So, all right, we've got more questions on oil, or do you guys want to move on? Okay, let's see what else do we have?
I have a question on oil.
Yeah.
This is Brad. Which one leaks the least?
none.
I find
Okay.
when your crankcase is empty, it doesn't leak. Any of them are going to leak. Check it frequently.
Oh, we know.
Well, I had an example when my 100, which is built, it's got a Dennis Welch motor in it. Originally, they put Castrol in it, 2050, and it leaked like a sieve. I put the Valvoline One VR1 2050. It made a significant difference in reducing the leaking of the oil out of my brand new 100 motor. Now it's got 15,000 miles on it, and it runs great.
I will
So
say,
Dempsey, I highly support your recommendation on Valvoline VR1.
It's a pretty good picture.
Pretty cool.
regardless of the oil, one of the things that most of the wear happens in your engine on startup. And so one of the things that you can modify, if you're not going for Concours, one of the things you can modify is a spin-on oil filter, because then you can use the one that's good. They generally will have like a one-way valve so the oil doesn't spill back out. You'll build oil pressure quicker when you start your engine. So I'm a very big proponent of that. Again, unless you're going for, if you're trying to win awards with originality. I don't know. Steve, do you have an opinion?
I have an opinion, and that is use a good Wix filter on your good Wix spin-on oil filter on your car. Once you get past your concours fixation, then you put on your adapter. Make sure that it's up, because you can put them on upside down and ruin an engine. And then use a good filter and a good brand of oil. And change your oil in the fall, not in the spring. The water and the carbon that you leave in the engine over the winter turns into carbolic acid, and it starts eating away the surface of your tappets on the bottom, the fang surface of your tappets, which takes your cam out, and all that causes you a lot of extra expense and heartache. So change your oil in the fall. Last thing before you put it away, change your oil, drive down. Once the oil is changed, drive down, fill your tank with gas, bring it back, park it, and disconnect the battery and ignore it.
Should we give other tips for storing everybody's car now that they're already put away and it's too late?
Well, sorry. Next year.
I'm sorry. This is Bill again. I do have one question, and I have an original Healey PJ8, and as much as I hate to say it, it is a Concours car, so it's original, and it always concerns me a lot when I've had it sitting for 30 days, and it takes just that little bit of extra effort to getting it started. Is there something different that you can do when you're trying to start a Healey after it's sat for 30 days or 45 days or 60 days? Or
in a Triumph, I would say open the bonnet and use the primer lever on the fuel pump, but a BJ8 is going to be electric. So let the fuel pressure pump up is definitely one thing.
Yeah.
Because that'll definitely help a bit.
So in other words, you turn the ignition just so you hear the fuel pump kicking in and let it stay.
Yeah, you want to let those float bowls fill up. Because that while it's cranking, if the fuel's not full yet, you're not getting as rich a mixture as you need.
Okay.
I mean, outside of that, make sure your ignition system is in good shape. It'll fire faster. Make sure the battery's charged. If your battery is low, you're going to get a weaker spark. It's not going to fire as easily. Because remember, a lot of that energy is going to the starter engine, the starter motor.
Yes.
So if your battery is in good condition and it's fully charged, if you've got, your ignition is set as it should be, and you wait to let the fuel pump fill the float bowls fully, it should start as quickly as any other time, as long as it's not really cold out or something like that.
It's also really good practice after your car has been stored for a long time to, when you turn that fuel pump on, get out and look around the car, make sure that the floats aren't dumping fuel all over the place, because the tips on them, when the gas dries out, they can stick a little bit, and then the float might get stuck and not shut properly when the fuel gets to a certain level. You don't want to start your car where it's dumping gasoline all over the place. And don't panic if it is leaking gas right at first. Just grab yourself a little something plastic or rubber. Just give your carbs a little tap. That should knock the valve loose and shut off the fuel. And it's always a good idea to just check that out before you start your car when you pull it out of storage anyways.
Yeah. That reminds me of fuel additives. So oil additives bad, fuel additives good. And one of the biggest issues and biggest questions we've got nowadays is about ethanol and fuel. Ethanol, like .3 brake fluid, it absorbs water. And the problem isn't ethanol fuel by itself. It's that it absorbs moisture, it separates, and that's when the corrosion is at its worst. So ethanol-based fuel, if you let it sit on its own devices, it will corrode the carburetors, it'll ruin your fuel lines, it'll gum everything up. So two things that you can do with ethanol fuel. Number one, and this will eliminate 99% of problems, drive your car frequently. If you don't let the fuel sit, it's not going to be a problem. It'll work just fine. Ethanol fuel is good, but not good, but it's not detrimental in a meaningful way. And then the other thing is, if your car is going to sit, use a product like Stable. There's other ones, but something that's meant to stabilize the fuel so that it doesn't separate. That's an important thing to do before the winter, especially if you're going to let your car sit and not run it. Starting it for 10 minutes isn't going to help you. You really need to get everything way up to temperature, or just don't bother. But something like Stable in the fuel lines, let it run through the carbs. That will make a difference.
What do you guys think about
if
overinflating tires for winter storage?
For radial tires, it probably makes a lot less difference than it used to back in Steve's day. So, sorry, Steve, I'm just teasing now.
No, that's fine. I'll buy into it. Radial tires. I add a few pounds, especially if it's going to be cold stored. You're going to lose pressure 1 pound for every 10 degrees colder than whatever time that you fill the tires. So if you're going to lose 40 degrees over the winter, that's 4 pounds, 5 pounds, and so you can overfill a little bit anyway.
What I do is I look at the maximum pressure on the side of the tire, and I'll set the tires to that. I also use these. These are really cheap. You can get these off of Amazon. They have a curve in them so that when you park your car on these and you let it sit over the winter, this should prevent flat spotting just a little bit. And these really are super, super cheap. Yeah, I use those and I inflate the tire to the max PSI listed on the sidewall.
And if you Concours guys have bias ply tires, you need those little round things that Steve just showed you to keep your tires from being flat on one side.
Do they take away points? I don't actually know this. Do they take away points if you use radial tires in the correct size, or are you allowed to use those?
In fact, no, they don't. In fact, when you're in a concours, they take the tires out of the situation because they understand that through the generations and through the years, it's very hard to keep up tires, and so they kind of eliminate the tires from the concours evaluation. However, they do look at a lot of other silly things that you would think they would ignore, but they always take it. They ignore the tires.
I'll make it simple then. Vredestein Sprint Classic are excellent, and then Michelin is it the XZX or XVX? One of those. It's about the same price, which are also very good. And for a big Healy, those are the easy ones. Sprites are going to use a different size. I don't know if those come in those sizes, but we'll probably find some recommendations for Sprites too, if you guys are curious.
I might add, this is Brad Swigert. I might add, just as a footnote, that judging comment is true for Concours judging for the Healy Club. However, if you do things like AACA with your cars, they still deduct for radial tires. They told Corky from Coker Tire, he told me this himself, if he'd make biased looking radial tires, they would consider that as being stock. However, Corky no longer owns Coker, so I guess I can say this publicly. Unfortunately, he wouldn't write the check and slide it under the table that they wanted to accept that when he got the radial tires done. So they went from a 5-point per tire deduction in Concours to a 2-point per tire. So if you're running radial tires on any car that you take to that came out with bias to an AACA event, you're going to have a 12-point deduction, including the spare tire. I mean, 10-point deduction for the on the ground and the spare tire. But I just thought I'd add that.
Hey, Matt, when the question, C. Barnes had a question regarding spin-on adapters. If anyone has a recommendation, I'll share what Moss has, and maybe people can speak to that.
I was going to say the one from Moss I've had good luck with. Most of the parts that you'll buy from different suppliers are actually the same parts. So people are, oh, Moss is good or bad, and AH Spares is good or bad. They're the same parts in a lot of cases. Not all of them, but in a lot of cases, it's the same part. So,
a couple of caveats with the spin-on adapters. Some of the, when you put it on the side of the block, some of the big Healy engines have a tube that's cast in there, and right near where you bolt this adapter onto. And back in the day, I had one of those, and when I put the adapter on, I was getting this continuous leak, and I finally had to slow down and look at it and pull the adapter off and use a round file and file a little corner off so that the adapter would sit down. And that was one engine that I did out of many. And so it's you just have to watch that. The other is when you look at this when you go to the Moss catalog and you look at this figure here, you will see that it says there's two letters there that say up, and that means up. When you bolt it onto the engine, up should be up. If you turn that over and bolt it onto the engine, the next sound you hear is rod bearings going south on you. And I've done two engines that somebody had put this on upside down and run the rod bearings out of it because there was no oil flow.
I will second that. I've seen two experiences of other people putting them on upside down. And the second time, it took me a while to remember that might be a problem. So yeah, don't trust anybody else to put one of these on for you on your car.
Up is up.
unless the engine's upside down.
Unless the engine is upside down. Very good, Matt. That is one of those things that you do have to look for.
It's that college degree, I think of these things. So what other questions do we have? Brad, are things coming in, or do we want people to just talk? I mean, you guys are on the call. What do you want to check?
They would be coming to Peter, not me, right?
Well, no, it's in chat. So that was the only question that we have right there. Steve
I have a
posted there
question.
about the on the YouTube channel, and then C. Barnes had the question on adapters. So I would open it up to the group if people have other questions this evening.
I have a question for the group. If you have a minute, I have a 59 Bug-Eye that I bought fully restored, and the fellow in the shop that restored it in another state are no longer with us. So there is no living history of this. My problem is that the car now has a quick ratio steering rack, a very small steering wheel, and it's very twitchy. But in any speed over 35 or 40 miles an hour, it hops its track. It won't hold a curve. It wants to go straight, even though I'm wanting it to go on a curve. And it becomes a pretty dicey thing. The faster you go, the more I always feel like it's on the edge of losing control. And I had new shocks installed, rebuilt shocks. That didn't seem to have any impact on it.
So it's a beautiful car. I love it dearly. I like to drive it straight at about 35 miles an hour because anything other than that, it just seems like it is not wanting to hold the road.
I I guess alignment would be one of the first things I would check on it. We were talking about tires also. So the specs in the shop manuals that you're going to see for alignments are generally assuming that you're going to have radial tires. Sorry, not radial, bias ply tires. And if you, without getting into too much detail on the construction, a bias ply tire is sort of the same stiffness on the sidewall as it is on the tread because it's kind of the same compound. They just have plies that they apply at different angles, and that's how they construct the tires. A radial is sort of two different areas. So the sidewall is going to be softer, the tread's going to be harder. Anyway, what it works out to affect is the alignment. So it's pretty common to see if you switch to radial tires, regardless of what the factory manual says, you almost want to have them dead ahead or slightly towed in instead of, I think it's generally slightly towed out might be what the manual says. They give you like a 16th of an inch, but
Yeah.
yeah, the alignment for radials is going to be a little bit different, and sprites are pretty sensitive to alignment. So I would check that first.
The first thing that comes to my mind, and this might be a really silly question, 13-inch tires are getting very hard to find, and a lot of people don't know where to get them. And I've seen a lot of sprites where trailer tires were actually fitted to them. And trailer tire sidewalls are of a different construction, and you're going to really notice that if around corners, and it's going to be a little wobbly going down the road, just as you had described. I would check that. You haven't said what tire you have, but I have seen trailer tires fitted to sprites because the 13-inch tires are hard to find.
Yeah, these are either Coopers or Avons that I bought. They're automotive tires, and I
Okay.
believe they are radials. They may be probably close to their 6-year aging out, but I bet they don't have 1,000 miles on them.
Six is okay. I'd check the alignment and make sure your suspension components aren't loose because that could make things twitchy too.
Make sure your shocks, well, you've replaced them so they're tight. I had a customer car many years ago, a Bug-Eye, and it finally came down that I had to put new front springs on it that the fellow had wanted to maintain originality, and when he went through everything else, he put the original springs on, front coil springs. And I got in there and I bought an upgraded spring and put it on, and that solved the problem. But it was a scary drive.
One thing I'll say, Steve, you just mentioned if he's just replaced his shocks, then they're good. Be careful, anybody on this call. Just because something is new does not mean that it's good. So you can have a brand new out of the box component that just immediately fails or is not living up to what it's supposed to do. So
Right.
Don't automatically rule that out. You should check it. It's less likely, but it could still be something that has failed.
Yeah, I don't know if you
Right.
guys know Peter Caldwell and Worldwide
Yeah.
Automotive in Madison, Wisconsin. He rebuilds shocks for everybody in the universe.
Yeah.
And I talked to Peter and bought rebuilt shocks
Yep.
from
Yeah,
him to install on the car. So that's what I have. I don't know if they are malfunctioning. I put them on to solve this problem and it didn't solve the problem. So it led me to believe that there was nothing uniquely wrong with these new shocks, unless it was the same problem with the old shocks.
I have a set of shocks from Peter, and I'm not saying anything at all bad about Peter. This was just a fluke thing that happened on my 69 Sprite, and I was getting ready to take that to the conclave last year, and I noticed that one of my corners was really bouncing, and it was a little hard to drive, and I wanted it to make better. And I took the shock off, and it ended up that the lever arm had sheared off of the pivot point,
Hmm.
and so there was still the resistance there given inside the shock, but it wasn't translating out to the actual lever arm, and so that is a problem that can happen where those welds in there fail, and then the lever is not actually being dampened.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be his fault. He may have rebuilt it 100% properly and something could just fail when you put it on the car. What you do is jack up the car, shake the wheel top to bottom, and shake it side to side and feel for play. And the first thing you want to do is rule out that there's a component that's loose. If you don't find anything that's loose, and everything kind of seems within spec, then I would check your alignment. And beyond that, it may be the tires that you're using, or it may just be that sprites are twitchy. But the steering by itself shouldn't do it. You're going to have a more aggressive movement when you move the wheel with a quicker steering, but the car should by itself still kind of go in a straight line and not be twitchy. So it'll amplify any problems, but it's not going to create them. Does that make sense?
Well, could it be, does anybody check if the tires are properly balanced, or somebody, when they've last filled it, had a lot of moisture in the air and you got a lot of water in the tire, throwing it off inside?
Well, that is certainly something I haven't checked. I would have to have somebody dismount the tires, I suppose, to take a look to see about that sort of thing. I'm looking for any solution at all. You know, in the characteristic of the car that is most disturbing to me is that when it goes over any irregularity in the pavement, a bump more than a dip, but a bump, that bump is not absorbed. The whole car hops up in the air, which is why then it loses its track.
Tom, do you have polyurethane or rubber bushings in your suspension?
I think they're poly. I don't know for sure. I mean, I didn't do the restoration on the car, but when I look at them, they're blue, bright blue, and
that's poly. So
yeah,
poly,
I've
there's
never
nothing
seen
wrong
rubber
with
ones that
poly.
color.
There's nothing wrong with poly bushings, but they do amplify anything in the road that's not smooth.
Yeah.
And so that can make it feel twitchy too. Not that you should change them back. I mean, again, they're good, but that can be an issue. So it may be a bunch of small things, but it couldn't hurt to check the suspension, make sure everything's tight, and then get the car aligned.
I want to second. I want to second that opinion. I've had one example
Wheel balance.
where checking the tightness up and down, left and right, didn't show me the problem. I actually had even taking a pry bar and trying to see what was loose, didn't show it out. I actually had to remove the spring tension to find out that I had a lower trunnion that was completely worn and moving visibly once the spring tension was off. So you check that suspension thoroughly, and you say it was recently done, but we're not sure how new all the parts were when it was recently done. And like somebody said, even a new part can go bad. So, jack it up in the air and really take a look at tightness and see if things, are loose, basically.
And you're listening to the voice of the Conclave 2026 video, by the way. He was the voice of the promo video, so he's telling the truth.
So, Tom, you also mentioned about the wheel. Do you have you say you have a smaller wheel?
Yeah.
What size is the wheel? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, it is smaller than any other classic vehicle I own, but it's probably a 14-inch wheel, maybe.
The only reason I ask is my grandson, I've restored 3 sprites for my 3 grandkids. And my grandson, he played center in high school football, and he couldn't get his thighs under a standard sprite wheel.
Right.
So I put a 13-inch wheel on the tire for him so he could get his thighs under there. And it was definitely much twitchier with that smaller wheel
Right.
than with the original size wheel.
Well, I have thought about changing back just for that because, at my age, controlling a small steering wheel is tough, but that in itself isn't going to translate into the on the road stability issue that I have that frankly is frightening enough that I don't drive the car as much as I would like to.
Oh no.
Also, Tom, you have your tire pressure set to, do you know?
I think I have the tire pressure set cold to about 28 or so. To try to absorb a little bit of the road shock because the suspension doesn't seem to be doing it for me.
I went and grabbed that bad lever arm shock. That's
Oh,
this one right here.
That's what they look like.
From the outside, this
Steve.
thing looks just fine. But as you can see, it
Oh,
has
jeez.
absolutely no damping at all. Yeah, these things can break internally and you'll never know it. And that would cause driving problems like you're saying there.
Boy, no kidding. I will check that. Yeah.
And that was a
But
new
when I look
rebuild.
under there, they look right.
Yep.
Wow.
That was a newly rebuilt one, and you have to understand that rebuilt is rebuilt,
Mhm.
meaning that it's still 60 years old, and failures happen. On your A-arms, where the trunnions mount to the chassis on the front suspension on your Sprite, that's not a big deal. I have found what do they call it? Sorry about that. The fulcrum pin, the lower end, the fulcrum pin, which is the outboard end where it attaches to the spindle, what they call the swivel axle assembly, and the kingpin. Those break loose or go bad. You also have, as Matt said, with rack and pinion steering, you have the inboard. Oh gosh, wait a minute. Tie rod. You have inboard tie rod underneath that, underneath the bellows on the steering rack, and then you have the outboard tie rod which attaches to your swivel. And any one of these spots will give you can have a little bit of play. And by the time you see all of the play put together, you have quite a lot. And so when Steve says shake it horizontally and shake it vertically, you need to do that. So that's a problem. And springs, I don't know. You may be able to look at the spring and see if it's a newer spring or an older spring. If the spring was replaced when the restoration was done, there may be a color, a little bit of spray paint on it, red or some other color, that will indicate what the strength of the spring is. If it's just all black, it's probably stock or been powder coated or repainted, and you don't know what that is. Good luck, Tom.
Tom, I'd suggest dropping that tire pressure. 28 on a bug eye seems really high. I think I run around 18 or 20 on the front and back
Really?
on mine. So, and I would have to second what Matt said about alignment. I did the alignment on mine this past summer, and it made a very noticeable difference.
Well,
Tom,
those
where are you
easy.
from?
I'm sorry?
Where are you from?
I'm just north of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
If you make it to Sugar Grove, I'll put it on the alignment rack and we'll check it.
Well, I would do that. Though I really appreciate all of your thoughts. I've taken now a page and a half of notes. I've had this car now for 10 years. This has been a problem from the get-go.
Oh no.
But what the one thing, and I appreciate all of your input. I mean, this is like a masterclass. But there is absolutely nothing loose or infirm about the steering or handling of this car. It is tight. It is extremely responsive, scary responsive. It is this characteristic that it won't hold the road when it goes over a bump on a curve. It just, the whole car jumps to want to go straight. And I've had it to mechanics. I've had it on the rack myself. I don't know what more to do, but I've got a list of suggestions here that I'm going to go back and look at. It's, we're heading into not the time of year around here where you want to work on cars. So these are probably things that are going to wait until April or May for me to get back to. But I'd love to be able to drive this car without concern, because right now it's kind of scary.
Well, one of the things we're also doing, Tom, as it relates to this, I know you said you took a page and a half of notes. We're using in Zoom what's called AI Companion, and there's going to be a complete summation of this meeting, both the video portion of it as well as the audio portion of that, and that will be posted out on the website.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
This is Jim. I've got a comment or a question. There was a comment made that the shocks were rebuilt by a Peter in Madison, Wisconsin. I live in Madison, Wisconsin. Is that Worldwide Auto that you're
Yes,
talking
it's
about?
Worldwide, Peter Caldwell.
Okay.
Worldwide Auto. Yep.
Peter Caldwell, what did you say?
Yeah, that's his name. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good lead for me. I'm gonna need all 4 shocks probably looked at, my BJ8.
When you dial the phone, Jane will answer and Jane will help you a lot. That's
Jane,
his wife.
Okay, thank you much.
One of the best things about them is they'll have a set of shocks that are already done that they'll send you. You can install on your car right away, and then you send back the old ones so that they can be rebuilt. So you're not having to wait for them to rebuild them before you can put your car back together.
If I wanted the original ones, they would do that. I mean, they
Yeah.
just take longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would do that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're concerned about concours, you want the right dates on everything. Yeah, send in your shocks and have them rebuilt.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be. It's not going to be concourse. I'm trying to keep every part that's on my BJ8 original if I can do it. I mean, I've rebuilt overdrive switches and regulators and every piece on it, generator, starter. I've rebuilt them with original parts. I've had 50 years to collect parts from various places, so I want to keep everything the way it was when I bought it a long time ago.
The design life on all those parts ended about in the mid-70s too.
Yes, I know, but I just have fun just going in it and fixing the contacts on the relays and addressing this and that and lubing it and taking care of, I put new bushings and bearings and things in all of the stars and generators and that, but I like to keep everything original. I don't like to put too many. I don't have put any China parts on it, not yet anyway.
So I'm sharing now on, we have this Healy resource. It's out on our website. So here's Worldwide Auto Parts in Madison with Peter Caldwell, his phone number, his email address, and all those specifics. So if you go to our website and go on the homepage, we have this database of all these different resources. So hydraulic rebuilds is under that category, and it has the specifics as it relates to that. On this file, it's an Excel file, so you can also when you can also sort if you something that's important based on location. So if you come over here to the different state and column, so you can put in here certain states and that sort of thing. So if you
Okay.
only want to look at something in Wisconsin as an example, it'll give you those locations that are actually in Wisconsin for the various activities.
Fantastic.
So again, that's out on our it's here. I should have done based on the state category. My bad. Sorry.
Oh, it's by state.
So the database is structured by, so right now in Wisconsin, we talked about that Worldwide Auto Parts, and then there's this BB Motors LLC and Foreign Tune are in Wisconsin as well.
Yeah. Those are restoration shops?
Yes.
Okay.
Tom Kovacs is probably the most famous Healy restorer I know, at Foreign Tune.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't bother him with a little Healy problem. He's
a big Healy man.
He's a big Healy man.
Big Healy guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you
So-
guys. This I do appreciate all of your expertise on all of these things. It's a lot to look at. It comforts me to know that there's very little on my list that I haven't thought about at least once in the last 10 years. But I don't know that I've done a very good job actually running them to ground. So that'll be springtime work for me.
So again, now I'm sharing again. This is our homepage on the website. So this is that supplier resources, and so you can you click on that sub, and it downloads that Excel spreadsheet to your computer. So once we are recording this call tonight here, and we'll have right here on the plains. So we'll have this both the video and the audio from this meeting will be here on the plains. So if you go back in the Northeast, again, we've been doing this for quite some time. So we've got all those out there. So this is the meeting summary from last November. From this November. I'll post again tonight the one from last night, and so I'll post this one tomorrow or Thursday for yours in the Plains group. So back to your earlier question, you'll have a permanent record of that. And if you need to go back to refer to anything, it'll be right here. So right now it says this is Plains that we're posting on the YouTube. Nothing's there right now, but this meeting will be updated on there on the next day or two.
Excellent. Excellent.
Great.
So Peter, do you have to be a member to access that?
Yes, an HCA member. Yes, you do. It's in the members only section of the website.
Okay.
If you guys know Healy owners that may benefit from these tech sessions, it's worthwhile saying, get them the link. We're happy to invite them. We want people to see that there's some benefit to being part of our group, part of our community. So please share the link, get people to these tech sessions. If we have too many people, it's a good problem to have. The goal is to keep more cars on the road.
Yeah.
I have a question. I have a BJ8 and I'm in the process of replacing the lower wishbone arm bushings, and I've run into some problems getting them off. Any ideas? Persistence is one of the virtues I need to keep going at it, though.
Fire.
Okay, Tom, you're talking the lower wishbones or the A arm down there, and you need to get that out. They rust into place. You can't get into them because the rubber bushing is seized or whatever. I have had to do this. A Milwaukee Sawzall with a short blade, and you just come in from the side, take everything else out of the way until you're just down to the front and rear side, and go in there with your Milwaukee Sawzall blade and hack at it until till you get through it. And then once you get that out, then you've got to go in and figure out how you're going to get what's left of the detritus out of your arm, and that in itself is another adventure. So good luck, but that's what happens. It's especially north, those of us who live up here in the plains, and our cars are up here in the plains, and it's just going to take instruments of destruction to get started.
Okay, all right, I'll try that and report back.
Okay.
What else do we have? Is everybody an AHCA member? I mean, anybody joined from elsewhere, just come in from Facebook? I'm just curious.
Okay, I'm not currently a member. I just followed Matt's link that he posted on Facebook today. I am on board of directors for the Vintage Sports Car Club of Calgary. So
very cool. Welcome.
Very cool.
Matt, how
Well,
often-
Ian, we're running a special right now. You can join for only $10 if you're interested.
that's about $80 Canadian.
Well,
Actually-
we got lots of Canadians in the Austin Healey Cup. It's America. It's not not Austin Healey Cup USA. It's Austin Healey Cup of America.
Okay, I will go and check that out for sure.
Okay. When you go on to our healyclub.org, use promotional 1961. You can join the club for $10.
Okay.
You know, there is also a club in Manitoba, a local club, so you may want to join that. There's not one in Calgary, I don't believe. But you know, we're going to Southern Ontario, Quebec, and Manitoba. So there are a number of area clubs in Canada as well.
Yeah, well, I think a good friend of mine is either president or vice president of the Manitoba Club. So
great.
It's worthwhile just for things like these. And if you guys take nothing else out of this meeting, the number one piece of advice to keeping your car in good shape I would have is to drive it frequently.
Oh, I do.
And I mean, even Concours cars. There's a guy I know in the Triumph Club that wins Concours Gold every year. He drives his Triumph Stag like it's his daily car, and you just keep it clean. So it's more work, but the car will last longer. It'll be happier. Everything's going to be in better shape if you use it. So that's my recommendation.
Couple of comments from myself, who's now living in West Bend, Wisconsin. I just moved here from Lexington, Kentucky, to be closer to family. But many years ago, I used to live in Edmonton, Alberta. So, you know, I did not have a classic car back then, but I certainly do now. And I also want to congratulate all the guys that have put this together, because it's just been tremendous wealth of information and camaraderie. And again, I've got a Concours car, but as you guys have said, man, I drive that damn thing every week. I don't care if it's a Concours cars or not. It just takes me more time to take care of it. But I just love the Healey's, love the association, and I've been a member of the Austin Healey Club of Wisconsin just for a couple of years since we lived here, but a member of the Austin Healey Club out of the Bluegrass for, I don't know, 20 years before that. So again, thanks guys for putting this together. Really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'll plug the Steves. I know I'm in Sugar Grove, Illinois, but Steve, where are you guys located? Because you guys are great resources for people if they're local.
I'm in Shoreview, Minnesota, which is second ring suburb of St. Paul. I've worked on cars all over the state and into Wisconsin, western Wisconsin. So it's I've done it, and or And so if you have any questions, I'm sure I'll show up again. So.
And I'm in Ames, Iowa. I have a YouTube channel, This Week with Cars. I teach people how to work on their cars. I'll also travel to events such as the Conclave and do a video so that everyone around the world can experience that event. But I do big Heelys, Sprites especially as well. So if you need tips on how to maintain your car or work on your car, I have those on my YouTube channel. And if you are near me, I do also work on customer cars from time to time. So if you have a Bug-Eye or Big Heely and you're in Iowa and you need some help, you can ring me up and I'll be able to help you with that too.
Will you be doing a tech session at Galena for the conclave?
Very possible.
Does anybody know what those tech sessions are going to be about? Any idea what they're going to be featuring in the tech sessions?
Are you in charge, Bill Cantrell?
Yes. Well, we're certainly doing one or two on sprites, but we have a plethora of people to choose from that we want to have do tech sessions. So it's not a question of coming up with things. It's how many can we fit in?
Okay.
We limit it.
Yeah. And like he said, we definitely want to feature sprites because I think in the past that may have been overlooked. So we want to make sure that everybody's welcome and that all of the information is there for Heely owners. We want to make sure that I think we might also be doing something. It's not tech as such, but we might be doing something on Future 50. So it's the 50th anniversary. We may want to talk about what are we going to do for the next 50 years to make sure the cars are still around and have a panel discussion maybe on that. So we've got a whole bunch of ideas, but there will be some interesting stuff during Conclave.
Can't wait. Great.
Okay.
Matt, when is the next tech session scheduled?
January 3rd, I believe. Let me check.
No.
Well, is it the 13th? Are you going to do the second Tuesday?
You mean the online one? Sorry, I do the Midwest Club's tech sessions in person. So January 3rd is that one. You're welcome to come to that as well. But otherwise, yes, it's the second Tuesday, which would be the 13th.
So I have a question for you guys. Did you like the fact that we send out reminders for this technical Zoom? Was that helpful to you?
Very.
Yes. I think so. Yes.
It just filled me with anxiety.
Matt and the team, you guys did a great job. This is your first one. I was really impressed.
Peter,
go ahead. Yep, Brad.
This is Brad Swigert again. I want to really thank Matt and Steve for accepting their roles, and I really want to thank Peter for setting it up. And don't you guys think I've done a wonderful job teaching Peter all this technical stuff that he knows? We all know that I am so technically inclined that I couldn't even get online tonight at 1 minute after 7 without calling him and having him help me. So we do want to thank Peter for all his efforts because they're stellar, and for everybody else that participated on behalf of starting the first one anyway.
Yeah, a great place to put links to these, by the way, would be on the AHCA Facebook group. We could remind people on there too, and then maybe even get some people that wouldn't otherwise join in.
Yep. We can certainly do that, Matt.
Thanks for having me on board today.
Oh,
thanks, Ian.
Well,
Happy holidays, all.
All right, see you guys next month.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Good night.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.